A good Wednesday, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ben Dery. Thanks for checking us out on our app. Yes, it has been hot, but at least in the latest forecast, we're going to add in some wildfire smoke on top of the heat. So our weather impact alert continues through Thursday evening, where not a whole lot has changed. We're still looking at the potential for dangerous heat outside. If you're not prepared for it, of course, drink plenty of water. Make sure you're taking some steps to avoid strenuous activity, especially during those peak daytime heating hours between like 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the evening. There's still extreme heat warnings across much of Minnesota. We're still looking at feels like temperatures. That's the heat index, the heat combined with the humidity. It's still nearing 100 degrees, but at least now we're going to be adding in some wildfire smoke as well, making for unhealthy air quality across a good chunk of Minnesota and especially central and northern Wisconsin. So what has changed? Well, we've been tracking this stationary frontal boundary, which has been draped across northern Minnesota. South of that boundary, we've had that strong gusty south wind, but notice north of that boundary, the wind has shifted. The wind is still relatively light, but now we have that north, even northeasterly wind across northeast Minnesota. And what that's doing is it's helping to pull down that wildfire smoke that was originally over, say, far northeastern Minnesota and into southern Ontario across the northern parts of Lake Superior. Now with that wind shift, it's working its way down to the head of Lake Superior, and eventually that smoke is going to reach down towards the Twin Cities later today. So right now, the current air quality around Duluth, it's not good. Hazardous air quality has been reported near the head of Lake Superior. And yes, by far the worst air quality in America right now is about a 2-hour drive north of the Twin Cities. Now, remember a couple of years ago, we had some big time wildfire concerns with a lot of smoke billowing into our area. But a lot of those wildfires were coming from, Canadian wildfires that were way up in the Canadian Rockies. Now these wildfires are a lot closer to home, and they will have an impact on certainly health for areas up along the North Shore and near the head of Lake Superior. So something to keep in mind. This is our surface smoke forecast model. It shows the higher concentrations of wildfire smoke in that purple color, and we'll push this forward. You can see that does push deeper into central Wisconsin. By noontime today, you can see that smoke trickling in to northern Twin Cities suburbs. And I think what we're going to see is a sharp contrast between little smoke and then higher concentrations of smoke. So expect that to arrive around the I-94 corridor, especially east of the Twin Cities by noontime today. Notice as we head into Wednesday afternoon, it's kind of far east central Minnesota and into Wisconsin. That's where the higher concentrations of smoke is going to be. Areas in western and southwest Minnesota probably staying smoke-free during the daylight hours today, but we'll probably start to see that trickle further west as we head into your Thursday. And unfortunately, not a whole lot of change is expected with these surface winds. They should remain fairly light, which is good news for battling those wildfires. We don't expect any real significant spreading of the fires thanks to wind. However, the smoke is likely going to be an issue not only through the rest of the week, but possibly into the upcoming weekend as well. There's an air quality alert in effect for most of central and northern Minnesota and all of Wisconsin through Friday morning. But again, the worst air quality is closer to those wildfires. This is the air quality forecast for today. You can see this rarely used hazardous map across north central and northeastern Minnesota. That does include Duluth, Two Harbors, Grand Marais, Grand Portage, the Iron Range, and up towards International Falls. Hazardous air quality is expected up there. Purple category to the south, that is very unhealthy air that reaches about as far south as Mille Lacs County, Isani, Chisago County. And here in the Twin Cities, we're in this red category. That's unhealthy air for all. That's for later today, and it's probably going to be the case over the next couple of days. But far southwest Minnesota, going to be in that green category where we'll be breathing easy. The smoke not forecast to reach that far south, at least over the next couple of days. We are seeing some high clouds starting to move overhead. There were some thunderstorms earlier today across northern Minnesota. Not the best news to see additional lightning up there, because remember those wildfires, lightning actually started most of those fires. That was just after the 4th of July. Here's a look at your high temperature forecast map. This is for the Twin Cities over the next 5 days. We're going to stay in the mid 90s, so that really hasn't changed, but it's just the duration of this latest heat wave that is kind of having an impact on us. It is starting to take a bit of a toll. We do expect subtly cooler temperatures by Saturday into Sunday, but still topping near 90 degrees, still much warmer than average. And then as we head into next week, Monday and Tuesday, finally we should see a return of cooler temperatures. We're talking low to mid 80s, which is more seasonal for this time of year. So we still have that extreme heat warning that doesn't expire until 9 p.m. on Thursday for this magenta colored area. Good news is far northern Minnesota getting a break from the heat today. A lot of clouds and even a threat for some showers and thunderstorms up there with temperatures staying in the 70s. The rest of us are going to see high temperatures near 90 degrees with the heat index near 100. So if you're not a big fan of the heat, not a big fan of the humidity, and certainly not of the smoke, just know that this is temporary and the countdown is on. The average last 90-degree day of the season, that comes around State Fair time. That's 45 days away. How about that? Our average first frost in the Twin Cities, mid-October, is about the average time there in the last 30 years. We're just over 90 days away from that. And get this, our average first snowfall, our first measurable snowfall of the season, is just 113 days away. That typically happens late October into early November. We're still a long ways out from that, but because we're in the middle of this heat wave, it's nice to see that, yes, this too will pass eventually, but the next couple of days are going to be kind of tough. There's the rain showers that we're watching across northern Minnesota, and it looks like areas along the international border will be right on that storm track, which is good news. Good news for fighting fires as far as the rainfall is concerned. But not good news when you factor in that there could be some dry lightning associated with this. We have this big ridge of high pressure, which is still hanging tough just off to our south and west. It hasn't moved very much over the last couple of days. It will stay in place through today, but by the time we get into the weekend, we will notice some changes. First off, that ridge begins to weaken a little bit and center itself further west. What that does for us is it introduces us into this northwesterly flow pattern that'll give us cooler temperatures eventually by next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But also, because we will be on that storm track, it should give us some rain opportunities as well. Nothing super widespread is in the forecast. I think we might see some stray showers around here maybe Friday and possibly again on Sunday, but I think the emphasis is going to be across northern Minnesota. Probably have to wait until next Wednesday or Thursday to see more legitimate rain chances for the rest of the state. Here's our microcast for today, and notice the showers are going to be limited to the international border today through 6 p.m., kind of on again, off again. Some brief showers and maybe even some lightning strikes as well. Another chance for rain as we head into Thursday across northern Minnesota, which is good news there, but we need more rain and we certainly need cooler temperatures, and probably not going to happen, at least significant cooling, until we get into next week. So for today, notice the 90s still in the forecast. Most of us low to mid 90s today. I believe the average high is 84 degrees. The record high is like 105 degrees. So it's not record heat, but the temperatures combined with the humidity making it feel like it's close to 100 degrees today. So the 3 H's of summer in full effect over the next few days. Hot, hazy, and humid air. Wildfire smoke probably not affecting us here in the Twin Cities until late this afternoon for north metro suburbs, for the rest of the Twin Cities later this evening and overnight, and a northwest wind about 2 to 8 miles per hour. So the wind should be fairly light, but that's not really going to help to stir up the atmosphere a little bit. We have this weather impact alert still in effect through Thursday. Mainly dry conditions expected on Friday, and then as we head into the upcoming weekend, just some small cooling there before we see more significant cooling early next week. Not only a drop in temperature, but also a drop in humidity as well. So if you are just joining us, that weather impact alert still in effect. If you are not prepared for the heat, it can be dangerous at times. We got to know the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke. And heat stroke is certainly the more emergency thing. Heat stroke, if you see somebody that has that red skin, like deep red skin, if they have a fever that's 103 degrees or higher, if they are not sweating at all, that's an emergency sign as well. Any of those signs, you got to call 911 and make sure that they get to a cool place immediately. Again, can be dangerous if we're not prepared for this. Kind of the positive news, or at least the positive swing with this, is because we haven't seen really a change in our forecast, we should be, well, maybe getting used to the heat, first off, and second, be able to know what to do to stay cool. Our extreme heat warnings continue for most of Minnesota through Thursday evening. Our feels like temperature is still going to peak around 100 degrees each afternoon, at least through the end of the week before we see any noticeable changes. But now we increase our wildfire smoke that really has been away from us most of the summer. We've been blessed to see a lot of blue skies so far this season, so we're kind of paying for that today as some significant smoke is in the forecast. This is the wind speed map, and you can see we have this frontal system that's draped across central Minnesota, and this is significant because north of that boundary, notice the wind has shifted more from that northeasterly direction. That means that wildfire smoke that was originally pushing off over northern parts of Lake Superior and into southern Ontario, that smoke is now pushing its way deeper into Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. Duluth earlier this morning reported hazardous air quality, and you can see that hazardous reading has reached the Hayward Lakes area. We're likely going to see those high concentrations of wildfire smoke move deeper into Wisconsin and eventually east central Minnesota over the next few hours or so. This is our surface smoke forecast, and notice areas in western and southwest Minnesota. No smoke issues, at least for today. We'll take this through noontime. You can see it's areas along and north of I-94, especially into Wisconsin, Menominee, Eau Claire, Luck, Siren, Spooner. Going to be seeing some really hazy sky over the next day and a half or so at least. And you can see that smoke just trickling into the Twin Cities later this evening and especially overnight tonight. So we'll see more color in our sunrises and sunsets. You're probably going to notice a reduction in our air quality over the next couple of days. But the good news is the worst air quality, the highest concentrations of that wildfire smoke, closer to where those fires are originating from. So this is from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Notice this area in the Iron Range and the Arrowhead. That's hazardous air is forecast, the air quality forecast for today. That will be the case through tomorrow as well. Very unhealthy air for this purple category. You can see along the south shore of Lake Superior. It's about as far south as Mille Lacs County, Kanabec County, Isanti, Chisago County as well. And here in the Twin Cities, we're in this red category, which is unhealthy for all groups. Green and yellow across western and southwestern Minnesota, where we will be breathing easier, at least over the next couple of days. So we have the smoke. Now we also have the heat as well. No major changes with this forecast. We're going to still see high temperatures in the mid-90s today, tomorrow, and possibly into Friday. Subtle cooling heading into your Saturday and Sunday, but we have to wait until early next week. We're talking next Monday and Tuesday before we see any significant cooling in the forecast. So we still have this extreme heat warning, which remains in effect until 9 p.m. on Thursday. Might see that extend into Friday, but for now it's just for Thursday with the heat index peaking near 100 degrees. And again, the worst of the heat is usually about, 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 6 p.m. in the evening. That's when we have the worst air quality, and you can see bordering this extreme heat warning is that heat advisory that expires around the same time. And notice they're getting a break from the big time heat across northern Minnesota, which is some good news. Also some good news, we are tracking some rain showers that are moving into north central and northwestern Minnesota. Unfortunately, no significant rain is expected. We are still under the influence of this big ridge of high pressure, but you can see that storm track is moving a little closer to areas that certainly do need the rain. So rain we do need. Unfortunately, that also means the potential for some lightning strikes. And remember that most of those wildfires that are burning out of control, they actually started by lightning, which happened from a storm that occurred a couple of days after the 4th of July. We still have this ridge that will gradually weaken over the next couple of days and center itself over the Intermountain West. That puts us in this northwesterly flow pattern once we get into this weekend and beyond. Eventually, we will see some cooler temperatures return to the region, and eventually we will see some rain chances as well. But unfortunately, looks like the rain chances are going to stay across northern Minnesota today. This is microcast that again brings some beneficial rain up north. I think we'll see a lot of these pulse type thunderstorms. They'll develop, they'll produce a little lightning and thunder, brief heavy rain, and then they dissipate. And I think we'll see that on again, off again through the day today across the northern quarter of the state. Similar cases we head into Thursday. The cloudiness and the threat for rain is welcome. That'll boost the relative humidity, which is some good news. And we don't expect the wind to ramp up anytime soon, which is also good news for battling those wildfires. Now these are forecast highs for today. You can see cooler temperatures across the north, 70s for forecast highs up across the international border. Brainerd in the upper 80s and St. Cloud southward, we're back in the low to mid 90s. And tack on a few degrees for the real feel temperature, the heat index. and the hot, hazy, humid conditions are likely going to continue over the next couple of days. So really the only noticeable change here in the Twin Cities is we're going to add that smoke to the sky probably as early as this evening. Thursday is probably going to be hot and hazy as well as we deal with that wildfire smoke and reduced air quality. Mainly dry on Friday. I think there could be a few showers north of us as the frontal system moves through, and that'll bring us some slightly cooler air Saturday and Sunday, but still pretty stuffy as we head into the weekend. We got to wait until next week. That's the cooler temperatures as we trend back into the low to mid 80s. And once we get into next week, I don't see this heat returning anytime soon. We do see several small chances for showers that arrive by next Wednesday and Thursday.